The cargo bay of the stellar drift smelled like recycled air and machine oil. Hyun sat on an old crate, reading a technical manual on his datapad. The transport ship wasn't fancy, but it was cheap, and that was all that mattered. He had exactly enough credits to reach the frontier systems and start his new job at the mining station. Around him, other passengers tried to find comfortable spots in the crowded bay. The ship carried all kinds of beings. There were tall, blue-skinned Trallians, small, furry Poxons, and a few other humans. Most kept to themselves. Space travel was boring, and everyone knew it. Hyun didn't mind the boredom. He liked the quiet. Back on New Busan, the colony world where he grew up, everything was always loud and busy. Here he could think. He could plan. In 2 weeks, he would start his new life fixing machines on a distant station. It wasn't exciting, but it was honest work. A commotion near the storage area caught his attention. 3 Vorn smugglers were surrounding someone small. The Vorns were big, with thick gray skin and tusks. They liked to push people around. "Give us your credits," one of them growled. "This is our section of the ship." Hyun put down his datapad and walked closer. He could see who they were bothering now. It was a woman in a dark cloak with a deep hood that covered her face. She stood very still, not answering them. "I said give us your credits." The Vorn reached for her arm. "Hey!" Hyun called out. He wasn't a fighter, but he couldn't just watch this happen. "The captain said everyone can sit anywhere in the cargo bay." "I heard him say it." The 3 Vorns turned to look at him. The biggest one laughed. "This is human business now? Go away, little man." Hyun picked up a power wrench from a nearby toolkit. He didn't point it at them. He just held it casually. "That life support panel over there is making a weird noise. The one right above your heads. I was about to fix it, but if you want to stay under a panel that might vent atmosphere, that's your choice." The Vorns looked up at the panel. There was no noise, but they didn't know that. Hyun kept his face calm and serious. "You're lying," one of them said, but he didn't sound sure. "Maybe," Hyun said. "Want to find out?" The Vorns looked at each other. Finally, they walked away, grumbling. Hyun let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. The woman in the cloak turned to him. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was soft and careful, like she wasn't used to speaking. "No problem," Hyun said. "Those guys are bullies. Someone needed to stand up to them." "You could have been hurt." Hyun shrugged. "Probably, but it wouldn't have been right to just walk away." He smiled. "I'm Hyun, by the way." The woman hesitated. "You may call me Nari." "Nice to meet you, Nari. You okay?" She nodded. Hyun noticed she kept her hood low over her face. Maybe she was scarred or shy. He didn't ask. Everyone had their reasons for privacy. Over the next few days, Hyun fell into a routine. He woke up, ate the ship's terrible food, and read his manuals. When he got bored, he walked around the ship. He couldn't help himself. Whenever he saw something broken, he fixed it. A loose wall panel here, a flickering light there. The ship's crew didn't seem to care about maintenance, so Hyun did it himself. He noticed Nari watching him sometimes. She always sat in the corners of rooms, always with her hood up. Twice he saw 2 men standing near her, trying to look like regular passengers. But Hyun noticed the way they watched her. Bodyguards, maybe? Or friends? He didn't ask. On the 5th day, alarms started blaring through the ship. Red lights flashed in the corridors. Hyun ran toward the engine section. Other passengers were panicking, running in all directions. He found the ship's captain, a nervous Trellian named Corvus, staring at a control panel. "What's wrong?" Hyun asked. "Life support failure in sections 3 and 4, Corvus said, his blue skin turning pale. "The automated systems aren't responding. We have maybe 20 minutes before the air goes bad." "Can I help?" Corvus looked at him like he was crazy. "You're a passenger. This is crew business." "I'm an engineer," Hyun said. "Let me try." The captain had no better options. He moved aside. Hyun opened the panel and looked at the wiring inside. It was a mess. Someone had done a repair job badly, crossing the wrong circuits. The system was confused, shutting down when it should have been running. Hyun's hands moved quickly. He had fixed systems like this 100 times on New Busan. Pull this wire, reconnect that one, bypass the damaged circuit. His fingers worked while his mind stayed calm. This was just a problem. Problems had solutions. 15 minutes later, the alarm stopped. Air began flowing again. The red lights turned green. Captain Corvus stared at him. "How did you do that?" "The repair was done wrong before," Hyun explained. "I just fixed it properly. You should get a real maintenance check at the next station." "You saved 40 passengers," the captain said quietly. Hyun packed up his tools. "I just did what needed doing." That night, someone sat down next to Hyun while he was eating his ration pack. It was Nari. She set down a ration pack of her own, but she didn't open it. She just looked at it like she didn't know what to do with it. "First time with human food?" Hyun asked. "First time with ration packs," she said. Hyun showed her how to open it. The food inside was brown and gray and didn't smell great. "Sorry, it's not fancy, but it's nutritious. Mostly." Nari took a small bite and made a face. Hyun laughed. "Yeah, it tastes like recycled protein because it is recycled protein. Here, try it with this sauce packet. Makes it almost edible." They ate together in comfortable silence. After a while, Nari spoke. "Why did you help those people today? The ones in sections 3 and 4? Hyun thought about it. "Because they needed help. And I could help them. Isn't that enough? Most beings would expect payment or recognition." "I guess humans are different," Hyun said. "My mom always told me, if you can fix something, you should fix it. Doesn't matter if anyone thanks you. What matters is that it's fixed." Nari turned her hooded head toward him. He still couldn't see her face in the shadows. "Your species is strange?" "Yeah, we get that a lot." Hyun smiled. "But strange isn't always bad." From that night on, Nari started sitting with Hyun during meals. She asked him questions about Earth, about human families, about why humans helped strangers. Her questions were odd, like she was studying him. But Hyun didn't mind. It was nice to have someone to talk to. He didn't notice the 2 bodyguards always watching from across the room. He didn't see them sending encrypted messages to someone far away. He didn't know that the quiet woman in the cloak was the most important person on the ship. He just knew she was becoming his friend. And for Hyun, that was enough. The stellar drift shuddered as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Hyun grabbed the wall to steady himself. That wasn't normal. Ships were supposed to slow down smoothly, not jerk like a ground car hitting a pothole. Captain Corvus's voice came over the speakers, sounding even more nervous than usual. "Attention, passengers. We have encountered an unexpected obstacle. Please remain calm and stay in your designated areas." Hyun looked at Nari, who was sitting across from him. They had been playing a simple card game, something Hyun was teaching her. "Obstacle?" she asked. "Probably debris or an asteroid field," Hyun said. "Nothing to worry about. The ship's navigation computer will plot a safe course through it." 10 minutes later, the alarm started again. Hyun ran to the bridge, ignoring the signs that said passengers weren't allowed. He found chaos. Captain Corvus was frantically pushing buttons while his crew shouted at each other in 3 different languages. "What happened?" Hyun asked. "The navigation computer crashed," Corvus said. "We're stuck in the middle of an ancient battlefield. There are thousands of pieces of debris out there. Some of them are still radioactive. Without the computer, we can't plot a safe path through." Hyun looked at the view screen. He could see chunks of metal floating in space. Remnants of ships destroyed long ago. Some pieces were as small as his fist. Others were as big as buildings. The stellar drift sat motionless among them, afraid to move. Can you reboot the computer? Hyun asked. We tried, the first officer said. She was a Poxon, barely reaching Hyun's waist. The system is completely frozen. It will take hours to reset, maybe days. We don't have days. Our orbit is decaying. In 3 hours, we'll drift into a cluster of debris that will tear us apart. The crew looked defeated. Hyun understood why. Most species in the galaxy relied completely on their computers for navigation. When the machines failed, they didn't know what to do. But humans were different. Humans had flown ships before computers existed. Hyun's grandfather used to tell stories about the early colony ships, guided by human pilots using math and instinct. I can navigate us through, Hyun said. Everyone turned to stare at him. Manually? Corvus asked. That's impossible. The calculations alone would take a master mathematician hours. Not if you don't try to be perfect, Hyun said. He was already moving to the navigation station. We don't need the perfect path. We just need a good enough path. One that keeps us away from the big pieces and doesn't care about the small ones. The small ones could damage the hull, the first officer said. The big ones will destroy us, Hyun replied. I'll take damaged over destroyed. Now, can someone give me manual control of the thrusters? Captain Corvus looked at his crew. They all looked back at him. Finally, he nodded. Do it. We're dead anyway if we sit here. Hyun sat at the navigation station. The controls were designed for Trellian hands, but he made it work. He looked at the sensor screen, studying the debris field. His mind started calculating vectors, speeds, and distances. Not perfectly, just enough. Okay, he said. I'm going to move us forward slowly. Call out if you see anything big on the sensors coming from the sides. He pushed the thrusters gently. The ship moved forward. A piece of debris passed by the window, close enough to make everyone gasp. Hyun didn't react. His eyes stayed on the sensors. Debris at 3 o'clock, the first officer called out. How big? 5 meters across. We can handle that. What about straight ahead? Clear for the next 1,000 meters. Hyun adjusted the ship's angle slightly. Another piece of debris scraped against the hull with a horrible screeching sound. The crew flinched. Hyun kept his hand steady. For 2 hours, he guided the ship through the debris field. Sometimes he went fast, threading through gaps. Sometimes he went slow, carefully avoiding clusters. He made decisions in seconds that the computer would have spent minutes calculating. Nari stood at the back of the bridge, watching. She had followed him when he ran up here. Her 2 bodyguards stood on either side of her, looking uncomfortable. She noticed something the others didn't. While the crew panicked and doubted, Hyun stayed calm. He didn't see an impossible situation. He saw a problem with steps. Move here. Adjust there. Avoid this. Keep going. He's not worried, she said quietly to one of her bodyguards, a man named Tae. He should be, Tae replied. One wrong move and we all die. But he doesn't think he'll make a wrong move, Nari said. He believes he can do this. Believing doesn't make it true. For humans, maybe it does. Finally, the stellar drift cleared the last of the debris field. Open space stretched ahead of them. Captain Corvus slumped in his chair, looking like he had aged 10 years. The crew cheered. Someone patted Hyun on the back so hard he nearly fell over. You did it, Corvus said. I don't believe it, but you did it. Hyun stood up, stretching his sore shoulders. Just took it one step at a time. The trick is not to think about the whole problem at once. Too scary that way. Most species can't think like that, the first officer said. We need our computers to break down big problems into smaller ones. You just did it in your head. All humans can do that, Hyun said. We kind of have to. Our brains aren't as specialized as yours. We're average at everything, which means we can adapt to anything. That night, Nari sat with Hyun in the cargo bay again. She brought 2 cups of something that might have been tea. "You were very brave today," she said. "Not really. I was terrified the whole time. But being scared doesn't mean you stop. You just keep going anyway. Most beings freeze when they're afraid. Yeah, well, humans are stubborn. We don't like giving up." He sipped the tea. It was awful, but he didn't say so. "Why do you ask so many questions about humans?" Nari was quiet for a moment. "Because you're different from what I was taught. The galaxy says humans are reckless and primitive, but I see someone who helps others, who solves problems, who doesn't give up." "Maybe the galaxy is wrong about us," Hyun said with a smile. "Maybe." Later, when Hyun was asleep, Nari's bodyguards approached her. "Princess, we need to talk," the other guard, Minho, said quietly. "Not here," Nari said. They moved to a private corner. "What is it?" "You're spending too much time with the human," Tai said. "People are starting to notice." "He's interesting. I'm allowed to have conversations." "You're allowed to be safe," Minho said. "We received a transmission. Keltar scouts are tracking this ship. They know you're aboard." Nari's breath caught. The Keltar Empire, her father's greatest rival. The empire she was supposed to marry into, binding herself to a prince she had never met. "How long do we have?" 2 days, maybe 3, before they intercept us." "And my father?" "He's sending his own ships. Both empires will reach us at roughly the same time." Tay looked grim. "When they do, there will be a confrontation, maybe a battle. The human will learn who you are." "He'll be frightened of me then," Nari said softly. "Most beings are frightened of the Asharan royal family," Minho said. "It's natural." "But not good," Nari said. She thought of how Hyun treated everyone the same. The captain, the crew, the passengers. He didn't see ranks or titles. He just saw people who needed help. "Princess, when the truth comes out, you need to distance yourself from him. For his safety and yours." Nari didn't answer. She just watched Hyun sleeping peacefully across the cargo bay, unaware of the danger racing toward them through space. For 3 days, Hyun had treated her like a normal person, like a friend. When he learned she was Princess Yuna of the Asharan Empire, that would end. Everyone always treated her differently once they knew. She found she didn't want it to end, not yet. Hyun woke up the next morning to find Nari waiting with breakfast. She asked him to teach her how to fix things. He laughed and agreed, showing her how to use a sonic wrench to tighten loose panels. While they worked, he noticed her bodyguards watching from across the room. One of them had his hand near his weapon. Hyun felt a chill run down his spine. Who was Nari, really? And why did she need armed guards? He decided to find out. The attack came during the sleep cycle. Hyun woke to the sound of explosions and the ship shaking like it was caught in an earthquake. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Passengers were screaming. He grabbed his boots and ran into the corridor. People were running in every direction, crashing into each other. Through the nearest window, he saw 3 dark ships firing on the stellar drift. They were sleek and dangerous looking, built for speed and weapons. "Pirates!" someone shouted. "Keltar pirates!" Hyun pushed through the crowd looking for Nari. He found her in the cargo bay with her 2 bodyguards. They had dropped their disguises now. Both men wore armor and carried massive energy rifles. They stood in front of Nari, ready to fight. "Hyun! Stay back!" Tae shouted at him. "What's going on?" Hyun asked. "Who are they after?" Before anyone could answer, an explosion tore through the wall. Metal screamed and bent. The cargo bay depressurized, sucking everything toward the hole. Hyun grabbed onto a support beam. He saw Nari holding onto her guards, her hood flying back in the rushing wind. For the first time, he saw her face. She wasn't human. Her skin had a faint silver sheen, and there were delicate crystalline patterns running along her cheekbones that glowed with soft blue light. Her eyes were larger than human eyes, the color of deep space. She was beautiful in a way that made his breath catch, not despite her alien features, but because of them. But more than that, he recognized those markings. He had seen them in documentaries, in news broadcasts. Those were royal Asharan markings. Each member of the Asharan royal family had unique crystal patterns that identified them. "You're Princess Yuna," Hyun said, his voice barely audible over the alarms. Emergency systems kicked in, sealing the breach. The wind stopped. In the sudden silence, Nari looked at him with those impossible eyes. "Yes," she said simply. Hyun's mind raced. The Princess Yuna, daughter of the Asharan Emperor, one of the most powerful people in the entire galaxy, and he had been teaching her how to use a sonic wrench. Another explosion rocked the ship. Now wasn't the time to process this. "Princess or not, you'll die if we don't move," Hyun said, grabbing her hand. "Come on." Her bodyguards looked shocked that he touched her. Nari looked surprised too. But she ran with him. They made it to the bridge. Captain Corvus was trying to fight off the pirates with the ship's old defense weapons, but it was useless. The Stellar Drift was a cargo hauler, not a warship. "We need to surrender," Corvus said, his voice shaking. "They're demanding we hand over the Asharan princess. If we don't, they'll destroy the ship." "No," Hyun said. Everyone looked at him. "We're outgunned," the first officer said. "We have no chance." "We have a chance if we fight smart instead of hard," Hyun said. He was thinking fast now, his mind putting together a plan. "How long until we reach the military checkpoint?" 40 minutes, Corvus said, "but we'll be dead in 5. "Then we need to survive for 40 minutes. Hyun turned to Tae and Minho. "You two, can you shoot?" "Obviously," Minho said. "Good. Take positions at the breach points. Don't try to win. Just slow them down when they board." He looked at the first officer. "You know this ship better than anyone. Where are the cargo holds with mining equipment?" "Sections 6 and 7. "Why?" "Because we're going to turn cargo into weapons." For the next 30 minutes, chaos ruled the Stellar Drift. The pirates boarded through 3 different breaches. They were Keltar warriors, huge and armored, carrying weapons designed to kill. But Hyun wasn't trying to fight them directly. He had organized the passengers into teams. Some pushed heavy cargo containers into corridors, creating barriers. Others rigged mining charges to explode when triggered remotely. A group of engineers helped him rewire power conduits to overload and spark when anyone walked past. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't military tactics. It was desperate improvisation. A Keltar warrior rounded a corner and stepped on a magnetic plate Hyun had pulled from the cargo hold. The plate activated, locking the warrior's metal boots to the floor. Before he could react, a cargo container rolled down the sloped corridor and crashed into him. Another group of pirates tried to breach the engine room. They walked into a corridor filled with coolant gas Hyun had vented from the environmental systems. Their helmet visors frosted over, blinding them. Minho picked them off one by one. "Your human is insane," Tai said to Yuna as they watched Hyun rig another trap. "Yes," Yuna said, "but it's working." It was working. The pirates were confused. They expected either surrender or traditional resistance. Instead, they got corridors that fought back, cargo that attacked them, and systems that turned deadly. They slowed down, became cautious. Hyun ran from section to section, always one step ahead. He wasn't trying to stop the pirates. He was just trying to delay them. Every minute they wasted was another minute closer to rescue. A massive Keltar commander finally cornered Hyun in a storage room. The commander raised his weapon, ready to fire. Hyun pressed a button on his datapad. Above the commander, an emergency cargo net dropped, tangling him in reinforced cables. Hyun ran past as the commander roared in frustration. 38 minutes after the attack began, new ships appeared on the sensors. Galactic Navy vessels, responding to the Stellar Drift's distress signal. The sleek warships made the pirate vessels look like toys. The Keltar pirates immediately broke off their attack and fled into faster-than-light travel. They knew they couldn't fight the Navy. The stellar drift was battered and holed in a dozen places, but everyone was alive. Captain Corvus made an announcement over the speakers. "The danger has passed. Navy vessels are escorting us to the checkpoint. Medical teams are boarding now." He paused. "I have been informed that we are carrying Princess Yuna of the Asheron Empire. All passengers are to show appropriate respect." Hyun sat in the cargo bay, exhausted. His clothes were torn and dirty. He had a cut on his forehead from a falling panel. Around him, other passengers were kneeling or bowing their heads. Even the proud, Vorn smugglers were showing submission. Yuna walked into the room, flanked by her bodyguards. Her hood was gone now. Everyone could see her royal markings glowing softly in the emergency lights. She looked every bit the princess she was, carrying herself with grace and authority. She stopped in front of Hyun. He was the only person in the room still sitting. "You should bow," Tae said quietly to him. "Should I?" Hyun asked, looking up at Yuna. She looked back at him. For a moment, everyone held their breath. Then Hyun smiled. "Are you hurt? Good. Now help me fix this cargo door before it falls off." The room went silent. You didn't talk to royalty like that. You didn't ask a princess to do manual labor. But Yuna surprised everyone. She smiled back, a real smile that lit up her face. "Show me what to do." While the other passengers watched in shock, Princess Yuna of the Asheron Empire knelt down next to a common human engineer and learned how to repair a cargo door. Tai and Minho exchanged glances. Their princess had been changed by her time with this human. She laughed at his jokes. She asked him questions about his life. She treated him like an equal. That night, after temporary repairs were made and the ship was safely docked at the military checkpoint, Yuna found Hyun on the observation deck. He was looking out at the stars. "I'm sorry I lied to you," she said. "You didn't lie. You just didn't tell me everything. That's different." "Are you angry?" "Should I be?" Hyun turned to look at her. "You're still Nari. You're still the person who asked me about human families and couldn't open a ration pack. Being a princess doesn't change that." "It changes everything for most people." "Well, I'm not most people. I'm human. We're weird that way." He paused. "Though I have to ask, why were Keltar pirates after you?" Yuna's expression grew sad. "Because I ran away from an arranged marriage. I was supposed to marry Prince Vectos of the Keltar Empire. Our marriage would unite our empires and prevent a war. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't spend my life as a political piece." "So you ran." "So I ran. Like a coward. Like someone who wanted to choose her own life," Hyun corrected. "There's nothing cowardly about that. The choice isn't just about me. If I don't marry Vectos, millions might die in the war that follows." Hyun was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that would change everything. "You know what humans believe? We believe there's always a third option. You don't have to choose between your freedom and your duty. There's another way. We just have to find it." Yuna looked at him with hope in her strange, beautiful eyes. "You really believe that?" "Yeah," Hyun said. "I really do." The military checkpoint was a massive station orbiting a gas giant. The stellar drift sat in the repair docks while engineers worked to fix the damage from the pirate attack. The passengers were given temporary quarters on the station while they waited. Hyun expected Yuna to be moved to luxury accommodations fitting for a princess. Instead, she insisted on staying in the regular passenger quarters. Her bodyguards argued with her about it, but she refused to change her mind. "I'm not returning home yet," she told them firmly. "I have 3 more days until the stellar drift is repaired. I want to spend them as I choose." Tae looked frustrated. "Princess, your father's ships are on their way. So are the Keltar vessels. When they arrive, there will be a confrontation. You need to be prepared." "I will be prepared," Yuna said. But until then, I want to live like a normal person, just for a little while longer. She found Hyun in one of the station's repair shops. He was helping fix a broken cargo lifter, even though it wasn't his job. That was just what he did. When he saw something broken, he fixed it. "Can I help?" Yuna asked. The other workers in the shop stopped and stared. A princess wanted to do manual labor? But Hyun just smiled and handed her a wrench. "Sure. Hold this steady while I tighten the joint." Over the next 3 days, Yuna followed Hyun around the station. She learned to use tools. She helped repair broken equipment. She got her hands dirty with grease and oil. The other passengers watched in amazement. Some whispered that it was improper. Others thought it was wonderful. During their breaks, they talked. Really talked. Not about politics or empires, but about life. "What was it like growing up on New Busan?" Yuna asked as they sat in the station's observation lounge. "Loud," Hyun said with a laugh. "There were always people everywhere. My family lived in a small apartment with my parents, my 2 sisters, my grandmother, and my uncle. We were always arguing about something, but it was good. We looked out for each other." "Your family sounds warm." "It is. What about yours?" Yuna's expression grew distant. "The Asharan royal family is different. We're raised to serve the empire. From the time I was young, I was taught protocols, languages, and politics. I had teachers, not parents. I had duties, not friends." She paused. "I love my father, but he's the emperor first, and my father second. Everything I do reflects on the empire." "That sounds lonely." "It is." Yuna looked at him. "That's why these past few days have been precious to me. For the first time, someone sees me as just me. Not a princess, not a political tool, just Yuna." Hyun felt his face grow warm. "You're easy to see that way. You're smart, curious, and you're not afraid to learn new things. Those are good qualities in anyone." They sat in comfortable silence, watching ships come and go through the station's docking bays. "Can I ask you something?" Yuna said. "Why do humans help strangers? Most species only help their own family or people who can help them back. But you help everyone." Hyun thought about it. "I think it's because humans believe everyone is connected. When I help you, I'm making the galaxy a little better. And maybe someday, when I need help, someone will be there for me. It's not about keeping score. It's about building a better world together." "The galaxy doesn't work that way," Yuna said sadly. "Species compete. Empires fight for resources and power. Trust is weakness." "Maybe that's why the galaxy needs more humans," Hyun said, "to show there's another way." On the second day, a message arrived for Yuna. She read it in her quarters while Hyun waited outside with her bodyguards. When she came out, her face was pale. Her crystal markings had dimmed. "What happened?" Hyun asked. "My father," she said quietly. "He knows where I am. He's giving me an ultimatum. Return home and marry Prince Vectos, or he'll consider it an act of war by the Keltar Empire." "But you didn't go to the Keltar Empire." "It doesn't matter. My refusal to marry will be seen as an insult. The Keltar will demand compensation. My father will refuse. Both empires have been looking for an excuse to fight. I'll be that excuse." Her voice cracked. "Billions of people will die because I wanted to choose my own life." Hyun took her hand. It was probably improper to touch a princess like that, but he didn't care. "How long do you have?" 3 days. He's sending a fleet to escort me home." "And if you refuse?" "Then the Keltar will attack. My father will respond. The war will begin." That night, Hyun couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Yuna's situation. 2 choices, both terrible. Marry someone she didn't love and lose her freedom, or refuse and start a war. Those were the only options the galaxy saw. But Hyun was human. Humans were good at finding third options. He spent hours on his datapad, researching. He read about the Asharan Empire and the Keltar Empire. He studied their histories, their economies, their conflicts. Most of their problems came down to resources and trade routes. They competed for the same things. What if they didn't have to compete? What if they could cooperate? The next morning, he found Yuna in the repair shop again. She was trying to work, but her hands were shaking. "I have an idea," Hyun said. "It's crazy, but it might work." "I'm listening." "What if you didn't have to choose? What if we could stop the war and give you your freedom?" Yuna looked at him like he was speaking a language she didn't understand. "That's impossible. Humans don't believe in impossible. We believe in difficult." Hyun pulled up information on his datapad. "Look at this. The Asharan Empire needs dilithium for your energy systems. The Keltar Empire has dilithium mines, but needs rare metals for their manufacturing. Both empires are fighting over trade routes to neutral markets. Yes, that's why the marriage was arranged, to unite our resources. But what if you could unite your resources without the marriage? What if there was a third party who could broker a trade agreement, someone both empires could trust? Who would that be?" "Humanity," Hyun said. "We're new to the galaxy. We have no history with either empire. We're neutral, and we're really good at trade and negotiation. It's kind of our thing." Yuna stared at him. "You want to use human diplomacy to prevent a war between two galactic empires?" "Why not? You said yourself humans are strange. Maybe strange is what the galaxy needs right now." "My father would never agree. Neither would the Keltar. They might if the deal was good enough. Think about it. Instead of fighting over resources, they could trade. Both empires get what they need. Humanity becomes a valuable trading partner to both sides. And you..." Hyun smiled. "You don't have to marry anyone you don't want to marry. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's incredibly complicated. But complicated is just a lot of simple steps put together. We take it one step at a time." Yuna looked at him with wonder. "You really believe we can do this?" "I believe it's worth trying. What do we have to lose?" "Everything," Yuna said. But then she smiled. "But we might lose everything anyway. At least this way, we fight for something better." They spent the rest of the day planning. Yuna used her royal access to contact human diplomatic channels. Hyun helped her draft proposals. They outlined trade agreements, resource sharing, and neutral meeting zones. It was rough, it was incomplete, but it was a start. Minho watched them work and shook his head. "Tae, do you see what I see? A human convincing a princess to gamble the fate of empires on hope and trade negotiations?" Tae said. "Yes, I see it." "Should we stop them?" Tae was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. "No. Let's see what humans can do." On the third day, Yuna's father's fleet arrived. 10 massive Asharan warships, each one capable of destroying a planet. They surrounded the station, weapons powered but not aimed. An hour later, Keltar ships arrived. 8 heavy cruisers bristling with missiles and energy cannons. They took positions opposite the Asharan fleet. Every being on the station held their breath. 2 galactic superpowers faced each other with weapons ready. One wrong move, and the shooting would start. Hyun and Yuna stood in the station's communication center. She had changed into her royal robes, crystal markings glowing bright. She looked every bit the princess she was born to be. "Ready?" Hyun asked. "No," Yuna said honestly. "But I'm doing it anyway. That's what humans do, right? Move forward even when they're scared?" "Yeah, that's exactly what we do." Yuna opened a communication channel to both fleets. Her father's face appeared on one screen. On the other screen was Prince Vectos, a massive Keltar with 3 eyes and armor-plated skin. "Father, Prince Vectos," Yuna said formally, "I have a proposal, one that will give both empires what they truly need." Her father's expression was stern. "Daughter, your duty is clear." My duty is to serve the Empire, Yuna said. And I can serve it better as a diplomat than as a bride. Please, hear what we have to say. Hyun stepped into view of the camera. Both leaders looked surprised to see a human. Who is this? Prince Vectos rumbled. Someone who believes there's always a third option, Hyun said. And I think you're going to want to hear it. The communication room was silent except for the hum of the holographic displays. Hyun stood next to Yuna, facing two of the most powerful rulers in the galaxy. His heart was pounding, but he kept his voice steady. Emperor. Prince Vectos, Hyun began. With respect, I think you're both solving the wrong problem. Yuna's father, Emperor Shin, narrowed his eyes. You dare suggest the Emperor of Ashara doesn't understand his own empire? I suggest that maybe you're too close to the problem to see other solutions, Hyun said. That happens to everyone. Sometimes you need fresh eyes. Prince Vectos leaned forward on his screen, all three of his eyes focused on Hyun. Human, you have 30 seconds before I lose interest. Speak. You want to unite your empires through marriage, Hyun said quickly. But marriage is just a tool. What you really want is security, resources, and trade. Am I right? Of course, Emperor Shin said. The marriage creates trust between our peoples. But it doesn't have to be marriage that creates trust. It can be mutual benefit. It can be trade that makes both empires stronger. Hyun pulled up a holographic display showing trade routes and resource charts. The Keltar Empire has dilithium mines. The Asharan Empire needs dilithium for energy. The Asharan Empire has rare metals. The Keltar Empire needs those metals for manufacturing. You're fighting over trade routes to neutral markets when you could be trading directly with each other. Why would we need a human to broker our trade? Vectos asked. We can negotiate directly. Can you? Hyun asked. Your empires have been rivals for 300 years. Every negotiation becomes a battle over pride and territory. You need a neutral third party, someone with no stake in your old conflicts, someone who just wants everyone to benefit. Humanity, Emperor Shin said slowly. Humanity, Hyun confirmed. We're new to the galaxy. We have no old grudges with either of you. We're excellent traders because we learned to cooperate with dozens of different cultures on our own planet. And honestly, we'd love to have two powerful allies instead of watching you destroy each other. Yuna stepped forward. Father, I've been with humans for the past 2 weeks. I've seen how they think. They don't see problems as walls. They see them as puzzles. This human saved everyone on our ship by improvising solutions no one else could imagine. Maybe we should listen to what humanity can offer. Princess Yuna, Vectos said, his voice softer than before. Your father and I arranged this marriage to prevent war. If you refuse, there will be consequences. There will be consequences either way, Yuna said. If I marry you, I become a symbol of unity, but also a prisoner. I can serve my empire better as a free diplomat than as a reluctant bride. Let me prove it. Emperor Shin was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke. What exactly are you proposing, human? Hyun took a breath. This was it. A three-way trade summit. Asharan Empire, Keltar Empire, and humanity. We draft agreements for resource sharing, trade routes, and mutual defense. If we can create a deal that benefits everyone, you won't need a marriage alliance. You'll have something better. An economic alliance. And if your summit fails? Vectos asked. Then we're no worse off than we are now, Hyun said. But if it succeeds, you'll have peace, prosperity, and Princess Yuna gets her freedom. Everyone wins. Very human thinking, Emperor Shin said. Always looking for the option where everyone wins. Is that so bad? Hyun asked. Another long silence. Hyun could feel Yuna's tension beside him. Everything hung on this moment. Finally, Prince Vectos spoke. I'm intrigued. The Keltar Empire spends enormous resources fighting over trade routes. If we could secure those resources through trade instead, he nodded slowly. I will agree to a summit, but only if the Asharan Empire also agrees. All eyes turned to Emperor Shin. Yuna held her breath. Daughter, the Emperor said, you have changed. The Yuna who left Ashara would never have proposed something so bold. I learned from humans, Father. They taught me that there's always another way if you're brave enough to look for it. Emperor Shin looked at Hyun. You have influenced my daughter greatly, human. I'm not certain if I should thank you or punish you for it. Hopefully thank me, Hyun said. Sir. The Emperor almost smiled. Almost. Very well. The Asharan Empire will attend your summit. But know this, human. If this fails, if your trade talks collapse, the war will begin, and it will be bloodier for the delay. Understood, Hyun said. We won't fail. Bold words. I hope you can fulfill them. Emperor Shin looked at his daughter. Yuna, you will return to Ashara, but not as a bride. You will be our chief diplomatic officer for this negotiation. You will have the authority to negotiate on behalf of the Empire. Yuna's eyes widened. Father, Thank you. Don't thank me yet. If you fail, the consequences will be severe. But if you succeed... The Emperor's expression softened just slightly. Perhaps you will have earned the right to choose your own path. Prince Vectos nodded. I, too, will send my best negotiators. And human, I will hold you to your promises. If humanity facilitates this agreement, you will find the Keltar Empire a valuable ally. That's all we ask, Hyun said. The communication ended. The screens went dark. For a moment, Hyun and Yuna just stood there, not quite believing what had happened. Then Yuna started laughing. It was a sound of relief and disbelief mixed together. We did it. We actually did it. We didn't do it yet, Hyun said. We just convinced them to try. Now comes the hard part, actually making it work. How long do you think the negotiations will take? Months, probably. Maybe a year. We're talking about restructuring the relationship between two galactic superpowers. Hyun ran a hand through his hair. I'm going to need help. A lot of help. Yuna took his hand. You'll have it. I'll make sure of it. The next day, the Asharan fleet prepared to depart with Yuna aboard. Hyun stood at the docking bay, watching the preparations. He felt strange, empty. He had known Yuna for less than 2 weeks, but she had become important to him. She found him there, dressed now in formal Asharan robes that shimmered with her royal markings. She looked beautiful and powerful and completely out of his league. So this is goodbye, she said. For now, Hyun said. You'll be busy with preparations. I need to get to my new job and explain to my boss why I'm going to be taking a lot of time off for diplomatic work. Will they understand? Probably not, but I'll make them understand. That's what humans do. Yuna smiled. Then her expression grew serious. Hyun, I need to ask you something. When the summit happens, will you be there? I need your human perspective. I need your ability to see third options. You don't need me, Hyun said. You've already learned how to think that way. Maybe, but I'd feel better knowing you were there. She stepped closer. Please. Hyun looked into her strange, beautiful eyes. Yeah, I'll be there. Thank you. Yuna did something that made her bodyguards tense. She hugged him. It was probably completely improper for a princess, but she didn't care. Thank you for seeing me. The real me. Hyun hugged her back. Thank you for teaching me that being different doesn't mean being wrong. The galaxy needs more people like you, Yuna. People willing to try new things. They separated. Yuna walked toward her ship, flanked by her guards. At the entrance, she turned back and waved. Hyun waved back. Tae paused beside Hyun. You changed her, the bodyguard said. For the better, I think. She was running away before. Now she's running toward something. She changed herself, Hyun said. I just showed her a different way to look at things. That's what humans do best, isn't it? Change perspectives. I guess so. The Asheron ships departed in a brilliant flash of light, entering faster than light travel. Hyun stood alone in the docking bay, wondering what he had gotten himself into. A fellow passenger from the stellar drift approached him. It was one of the Poxin traders who had watched everything unfold. Do you realize what you've done? The Poxin asked. You've inserted yourself into galactic politics. You've made promises to empires. One human against the weight of history. Hyun shrugged. I just helped a friend solve a problem. That's what humans do. You're either very brave or very foolish. Probably both. The stellar drift finished its repairs 2 days later. Hyun boarded the ship for the final leg to the frontier systems and his new job. As the ship prepared to depart, a message arrived on his data pad. It was from Yuna. The summit preparations have begun. Both empires are sending their best diplomats. My father is skeptical but willing. Prince Vectos is interested in the trade potential. The human diplomatic corps has been contacted and is eager to participate. This is really happening, Hyun. We have a chance to change the galaxy, and I couldn't have done it without you. I'll send you the details soon. I hope you're ready, because I'm going to need my human problem solver by my side. Thank you for showing me that there's always another way. Yuna. Hyun smiled and sent a reply. Just 2 words. I'm ready. He looked out the window as the stellar drift jumped to faster-than-light travel. Somewhere out there, Yuna was preparing to reshape the relationship between empires, and somehow a simple engineer from New Busan had become part of it. 3 months later, Hyun received another message. This one contained coordinates and a formal invitation. The summit was scheduled. Both empires had agreed to terms for initial talks. Human diplomats were assembling a team, and Princess Yuna had specifically requested that Hyun be part of the human delegation. Not as a leader, but as an advisor. Someone who could see problems differently. Someone who believed there was always a third option. Hyun looked at the invitation for a long time. Then he sent his acceptance. He didn't know if the summit would succeed. He didn't know if they could really prevent a war and create a new alliance. But he knew one thing for certain. Humans didn't give up. Humans kept trying. And sometimes, just sometimes, trying was enough to change everything. He booked passage on a ship heading to the Asheron homeworld. As the stars streaked past his window, Hyun thought about a princess who dared to run away from her duty and a human who showed her she didn't have to run. She could stand and fight for something better. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when humans got involved in galactic politics. And Hyun suspected the galaxy would never be quite the same again. After all, humans were good at one thing above all else. They were good at hope. And hope, Hyun had learned, was the most powerful force in the universe.